What's up, everyone? If you could please subscribe to the channel, ring the notification bell, and comment what you think, I'd really appreciate it. All right, let's get right into it. We are playing 1-2 no limit, and we buy in for 500. And what do you know? The first hand we start with is pocket aces. We raise it up to $10. We get one caller in the big blind. The flop comes Jack 8-6, two spades. He checks, so we decide to bet $15. He makes the call, and we're on to a turn card of a 7 of hearts. He checks, and we decide to play it slow and sneaky and pot control it, so we decide to check it back, as this does hit well for his range. The river comes a queen of spades, and he bets $20. That is too small for us to fold, so we do decide to make the call. He has the jack nine of spades for the flush, so we're glad we didn't bet the turn. We saved some money. We did have the ace of spades in our hand, which was a good card, but he still had the flush. The next hand we pick up, what? Pocket aces again? Okay, let's hope they don't get cracked this time. And ironically, we did not add in those sound effects. There was horse racing going on TV. It was just really well timed. There's a couple limpers, and there was a raise of $12, one caller, so we decided to 3-bet it to $42 in the big blind, and both guys call. Onto a flop. And bingo, we flop a set of aces. We decided to lead out for $40. We thought we meant to bet 50, but it was actually 40, which is fine with us. Both guys call. We do not want to slow play on a board like this. We want to get value from pairs, straight draw, flush draw combos, or maybe even sets. So we're really trying to get it in, like Paulie D. The next card comes, the 4 diamonds. He checks, so we want to go for a big bet because there's a lot of rivers that we don't necessarily want to see, and we want to charge them for draws. So we decide to bet $140. However, both guys fold. Okay, fine with us. All right, next thing we pick up, the old 10-8 of clubs. Yeah, how you doing? Couple limpers, and we decide to raise the $15 in middle position, and we get 3 other callers, so 4-way to a flop. A good flop for us as we hit middle pair and a flush draw. It gets checked to us, so we decide to bet $25. The next guy calls, and then the guy after him decides to raise to $100. Looks like we have a situation here. So we think about it, and we just decide to go all in, because either way we have some equity. The one hand that we wouldn't want to see is pocket sevens. So he decides to make the call, but we do decide to run it twice. We didn't want to just call, then have to face an all-in on the turn. He had about $140 or $50 left anyway, so we decided to go for it. So he ended up having the ace-4 of clubs for a higher flush draw. So we ran both boards. The first board gave him a higher flush as it came 3 deuce with 1 club. And the bottom board came out 6 deuce. So he had the higher flush on the top, but we won the bottom board with just a pair of 8s. So we ended up chopping the pot. The next hand we pick up Jack Queen. We decide to raise to $10 pre-flop, and we get 2 callers. The flop comes ace-7 deuce. I check, and everyone else checks around. The turn comes a queen of diamonds. We then decide to bet $30. The player next to us makes the call, and then the player after him thinks about it for a little while, but then he also decides to make the call. The river comes with 5 of spades, so we weren't really worried about the last guy who called as he stared at the board for a little while and then decided to call. We thought he had a flush draw or like 10 king or something like that for a straight draw, but the guy next to us was a little bit tighter, and we thought he could have a hand like king queen, so we had to go for a really big size bet. And he decides to fold, and the guy next to him thinks about it. He says that we don't have shit, but he doesn't have shit either, so he decides to fold also. We weren't really worried about someone having an ace as they didn't bet the flop. And if they had a set, they would have probably raised the turn. But the guy next to us, we did thought he could have had a hand like king queen, which we lose to, or jack queen as we chopped the pot. So we had to make a really big bet in order to secure the pot. All right, the next hand we pick up jack queen suited in middle position. So we decide to raise to $10 pre-flop. We get 2 callers. The flop comes 8-10 deuce, so we have 2 overs, a gut shot, and a backdoor flush draw, so we decide to bet $15. We get 1 caller. The turn comes a queen of diamonds, so we decide to bet $30 as we now have top pair. And he thinks about it and decides to call. The river comes the 7 of clubs. Not too worried about this river, but we think about it, and we decide to check to see what he does. And he bets out very small. He bets $25. So we decide to make the call and see what he has. And he shows king, queen of clubs for a pair of queens with a higher kicker. He called the flop with king high. I guess he had some backdoor draws. All right, we ended up losing a couple of hands that we didn't get on video. We ran a straight into a full house, and then we also had a queen high flush draw against pocket jacks, a king high flush draw, and an ace high flush draw in an $800 pot, which could have got a lot uglier. So we're down a bit, but we need to get back on track here. All right, the next hand is a $5 straddle, and a guy under the gun raises to $25. So we decide to make the call for $25, and one other player calls, so we're going three-way to a flop. The flop comes to queen, three, deuce. Both players check, so we decide to make a bet for $25. The next guy folds, and the initial raiser decides to make the call. The turn comes in ace, so he checks, and we're hoping that he decided to get sticky with ace king high or ace jack suited or something along those lines. Since we bet so small on the flop, we decided to bet 130. We went big, and he decides to make the call. Now the river comes to jack, and he checks again. There's $386 in the pot. We have about $280 left. So we think about it, and we decide to go for it. We go all in, hoping he has ace king, ace jack, something like that. But he ends up just folding. Ugh. So we finish out for $783 when we started with $700. So a profit of $83. That's it for us. I'll catch you in the next one, and please subscribe.